Hey everyone, Chakra is our kill. So yeah, you guys have been incessantly asking me about Kayle and what to do. Unfortunately, I'm human, so I needed time to draw some conclusions by myself. I also needed patch 4.11 to hit Korea because everyone knows Koreans know best. So today I'm going to present a mix of my research of my own games with what the Kayle mains in the top 1000 of the Korean server have been doing. The trend in Korea has been somewhat to abandon the Runons build and go more for the Lichbane build. However, this doesn't mean that the Runons build is dead. Instead of seeing it every time on Kayle, you'll see a bit of Lichbane Kayle mixed in between. Let's start with the Runons build or Korean Kayle. This build is still very popular despite the fact that one of her main damage sources, Righteous Fury's AP ratio, was cut in half. The first change I immediately noticed was the inclusion of Abyssal Scepter into the build. Usually champions with lower AP ratios use magic resistance reduction or penetration to do more damage. Abyssal's aura range is 700, which is higher than Kayle's effective range while using Reckoning and Righteous Fury. So pair Abyssal with a Void Staff, your passive, and possibly Hyper Penetration marks, and you'll shred a lot of damage. Let's do a bit of math. So let's say target A has 100 MR. Abyssal comes first, reducing the magic resistance to 80. Kayle's passive is next. For the sake of calculations, let's imagine you already have 5 Holy Fervor stacks on the target. That's 15% less magic resist. So it goes down to 68. Then we apply Void Staff, down to 40.8. And finally the Hybrid Penetration marks, going down to 35.22. Now that's a lot of resistance shredding, and keep in mind that a part of that, the part where you have the Abyssal Magic Resistance reduction and the part where you have the Holy Fervor stacks, are applied to your whole team, meaning that the MR is actually reduced to 68 for your whole team and then reduced to 35 for you. The other variation I've seen of the Runons build was the inclusion of Hextech Gunblade. Now this sounds weird, I know, however, let's see why it works. First off, Runon's bolts will proc the lifesteal from the 2 extra targets, giving you more sustain. You'll also be spell vamping from Reckoning and the 1/3 of the spell vamp from Righteous Fury, which isn't much but still helps. The important part here is the active. Using a Runon's Hurricane gives you the potential to take 9 seconds off of the active's cooldown with every auto attack if the extra bolts also hit enemy champions, meaning you can spam the active, just like in Earth mode. So an example build for the Runons build would be Berserker's Greaves, Gnasher's Tooth, Runon's Hurricane, Void Staff, Abyssal Scepter, and Death Cap, Zhonya's, or Gunblade. Gunblade definitely fits if you stack more AP, however you can go with the Abyssal Void build if you prefer. Next up, Lichbane build. Biggest change in this build has been the increase of popularity of Ionian Boots of Lucidity, whereas before we'd rarely see them. I've been doing these forever now due to personal preference, but the need for the boots has increased. This happens for 2 reasons. First off, Kayle's ultimate now has an increased cooldown. To give perspective, it's an extra 12 seconds in max cooldown and rank, so having a higher percentage cooldown reduction means you can make up for an otherwise low cooldown. I get 15% from boots and 20% from Gnasher's Tooth, using blue buff or an elixir for the remaining 5%. Secondly, your damage is more dependent on Lichbane procs. This means that having a lower cooldown on abilities means more frequent Lichbane procs when you land a second slow or a second heal. What about mixing Lichbane and Runons, you may ask? I personally don't like it, but you can do it if you can run a build without a defensive item. On to jungle builds. I've been seeing one main jungle build, which is the one with Feral Flare, Gnashers, and Runons. Remember that Feral Flare does magic damage and Runon bolts apply on-hit damage, so you're stacking up a lot on on-hit magic damage. Other than that, there's also the way I like to build her when I want early game pressure. Spirit of the Spectral Wraith into Gnasher's Tooth, followed by Lichbane, and with this build you don't actually need to max Righteous Fury and can max Reckoning instead, as you'll have mana in the jungle to spam it on the big monsters. Rank 1 Righteous Fury is enough to take care of the smaller monsters. Finally, I wanted to mention a specific player called Trader, who has 550 games on Kayle this season and is in High Diamond 1 in Korea. He has been building Elder Lizard, Essence Reaver, and Runons in the jungle, and a similar build choosing Ghostblade over Lizard for top lane. I tried it out and it's honestly quite a strong build, but it'll need more testing before I can draw conclusions, especially now that Essence Reaver got changed and is quite an expensive item. If you played in Season 2, you probably remember how strong AD Kayle was. It was due to a specific set of reasons that we don't have now, like her Q amplifying all damage done by herself, or minions not hurting her early because of the old tough skin mastery that worked on minions. What still remains a constant is the fact that AD itemization is strong right now, but I'll have to test it more before I can draw any type of conclusion. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the rundown, and as always, I'll see you guys in the Rift. Chakra signing out.